All right, you maggots, listen up. Now, some of you really like stories. It was triggered. This story was triggered by a guy that said I mentioned that the project I had built the radio fax receiver on an AT card, and he says it's really an XT. Well, that card, I never owned an XT computer. I always had AT computers, 386s, and that was the card you see in there. That's basically what they sold, and they came with one parallel port and two serials, and sometimes a game port. But we would refer to that card as an AT card because that's what we're all using. I don't ever remember that type of card coming with the extra connector for being in the AT slot. You know, because you had slots on the motherboard. Anyway, he triggered this one of these things where we had bulletin board system. Now I try to explain to you if you don't know what a bulletin board system is or was. Um, America Online had one, and people could call in and exchange messages, and I don't think they could watch videos until later on. But anyway, AT&T, CompuAd, there was a couple others, but I had one in my cellar, and mine hooked to other computers. At night, they would dial out to each other, and they would exchange um, mail packets, quick packets. It's basically you have an email address, but it was a little bit different. But anyway, you could join forums on one bulletin board, answer messages to people, and then at night it would get moved all around. FidoNet. There was all these different nets, and the big guys, the real big guys, had bulletin boards with multiple lines. Some of them would give me a call and try to get me to go to a second line or whatever. And we would talk. And my expertise was wiring stuff up and making stuff and finishing it. And this one guy calls up and he says, you know, the AT&T box, the caller ID box, they're not selling them to us anymore. And I didn't even know they existed. See, the real big bulletin board systems, they monitored who was calling in, and they would squash the guy that was opening multiple accounts and stuff like that. What they would do is they open a multiple account, and then they go into a game. You had online games. They go into a game like King of the Board. They would go in under different names and knock down the guy with the most points, and then they'd come in under their real name, and then they would win the game. So these guys put caller ID on their bulletin boards, and they started cluing me into the nonsense that was actually going on. See, I thought I had a lot of callers until I put a caller ID box on, and so anyway, this guy Max calls me up and he starts saying, "You want to look into it." So I bought that one of those videos I told you about that project board. It's got the microprocessor on it, and you can program in Forth or in BASIC. And I'm trying to make a caller ID box, and I'm working with it. I'm going along, and I'm not having problems with one part of it. It's the programming. So as I'm doing it, I get a flyer from one of the magazines, and they have caller ID boxes for $35. So of course I have to order one of those. So I order one of those, and I hook it up to one computer. I had computers networked together using a program called UNet. And the phone would ring, and there was a Terminate Stay Resident program that came with the caller ID box that would sit up in memory, and it would flag the phone number to a file. And then as the guy came through the input door of the bulletin board, it would pick up that number, and it would run another basic program, and then it would compare it to a list of bad phone numbers, and it would hang up and give the guy the finger if he was a person that abused my system. So I now have it working with this cheaper box for $35. The caller ID box, through the phone company, I think it was $350 or well, anyway. So I call Max up, and now he tries to buy a bunch of these boxes for $30. And he calls up, and they're already out of them. So he calls me back, and he starts pushing me to keep going with the project. And I do. I keep going with the project. And then finally, I'm talking to another Sysop. We used to call each other Sysops, system operators. One guy used to say call us Sysops, but I was a Sysop of it was called the Free for All BBS out of North Arlington, New Jersey. You can look it up. It is listed. So anyway, I start talking to this guy, and he goes, "You know, the new modems come out with a caller ID in them." I go, "You got to be kidding!" He goes, "What modem do you have?" And I tell him. He goes, "Oh," he says, "Go in your communications program. In my case, Q modem, something modem, Q modem." Anyway, I go in my communications program, and you hit AT space, and then like R1 or something like that, and you hit that, and all of a sudden a phone number comes up, and you go, "Holy crap!" So every time somebody calls into your system, they're calling into a phone line, and that's your modem, and your modem is logging their phone number. So all you have to actually do is make a program to grab that number. So I go on the Salt Air BBS bulletin board system, which was for a PCBoard, and I start seeing these different guys doing programs with for the Bell telephone box or whatever it was, a Western Electric box. And I contacted a few of them, and I said, "Hey, there's a call ID built in the modem, and I'm keeping in touch with these guys. You know, we're calling. I'm running up a big phone bill." So finally, I bump into this guy, and I can't think of if it was PPL or PPs or PPIs. Part of my bulletin board package basically had these little. You could write these little miniature programs, and you could incorporate them into the main program. They were like scripts, and I talked to this guy, and well, first I asked him what modem he had, and he told me. I said, "Go into your communication program and put in 18 R1, whatever it was." And he sees the phone number come up. He goes, "Holy cow!" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you not write any of these scripts?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm writing a script for this." The next day, he has a script ready for me, and it did exactly what I wanted it to do. It would call. A person would come in. It would read the phone number. It would go. The main program would then read the phone number from the modem and compare it to a list of bad phone numbers, and then give the guy a finger in ANSI code, because back in those days we didn't have GIF files or any of that. Give the guy a finger and hang up on him, and it log it to the main log of the bulletin board system software. So in the morning you'd go down here and you see that the guy would try 20 times to get into the system. Now the reason I would block people out was they would come in and they would just steal files. They would just take a bunch of files, and I would go get those files, zip files. There were programs that you would try out. They were shareware. They would come in and raid me, and then they'd go put them up on other bigger bulletin boards and get extra time. And I would keep track if the person ever uploaded anything. It was in part of their. It would keep track of what they did on the bulletin board. You would see that there were people they just stole from you. So I would give them a nice message. I say, you go around stealing programs from everybody. It'd be nice if you brought one back here. And the guy would give you a nasty answer. So you go in and add the guy's phone number into the main bad bin. And then the next time he'd call, he'd get the finger. But it was so funny. We went from can't get the box, the big expensive box from Bell Atlantic. Bell Telephone back then, Western Electric. It wasn't Verizon in those days. That's the new name. But anyway, the big box, you can't get it anymore, to this box that was in a magazine that sold out. And meanwhile, I got that motherboard, processor board that does Fort and BBSing. And now I unloaded that as quick as I could. The next flea market, I unloaded that because I knew the way to go was to go with the modem. And then that guy helped me, and it was done. And I called Max up, and then he switched over. He was able to switch over using the script. And then guys come up with scripts that would actually let the person enter the bulletin board, and then it would start randomly throwing garbage characters at them and noise. So they would think their modem was going bad. It got pretty nasty. But what happened was, when bulletin boards first started, and this is before America Online or CompuAd or whatever the other ones, Um, the people were incredibly friendly. On Sunday, you might go to a cafe or a roadside diner and sit down with other sysops. I told you one guy calls them sysops. But anyway, you would sit with them and you would discuss the new modems coming out. Maybe they would sell you one of their older hard drives. It became a community, and then just like CB did, and it just went. It just started going bad when all the younger kids were able to get online and start coming into these systems and saying they wanted adult GIF pictures, and it went from really interesting and nice and people trading information to the kids doing what they basically do on YouTube. But I just want to tell you, I was in it. I mean, I was in it from. I bought the computer too to do resumes, and I never went back to work. I quit working at TRW. I got into the Time Bandit, which is the computer. And once you get into computers and you're out of work, you make the computer real important to you, and you spend all your time on it. You're always worried about updating your modem. And modems, when they come out, they were $350. And I had a 1200 baud modem, and then it went to 24, and then there were all kinds of compression systems. You go online, you could go on with Z modem, and the bulletin board systems would see what you're trying to communicate with. The two modems would talk to each other, and they would agree on what to let you in at. And there was a program. I think at the end I was using Z modem, and Z modem let you download a program and upload it at the same time. I'm pretty sure it was Z modem, but it became more and more fancy, and people started making fun of America Online. And I got my bulletin board. I had like 4 hard drives running, and at night, at 12 o'clock at night, my computer would run a batch file, maintenance. It would shut one of the other computers off, and then it would go send the mail to other people. I became a hub for Magnet. There was another Magnet, but I had a different. I had Magnet first, but anyway, I had a mail system, and I started training people on how to do mail packets and all that. And they would call me on the phone. I'd explain how to do it. And then after a while, what they would do is they would leave my mail system to go to Fido. In order to join Fido, you have to have had experience with another mail system. So they would use me as a stepping stone. And then some weeks, I would have 2 people join and 4 people quit. And then after a while, I'm like, you know what? All I'm doing is running up phone bills and explaining to people how to do stuff. And then they abandon me. They don't help me grow Magnet. They go to FidoNet. But all of a sudden, I saw, I was over at the Electronic Barn, and these guys that had been using my system, I started talking to them. We know you. I'm so-and-so. Oh, hi, how you doing? And these kids from the tech school started giving me phone numbers and how to get in through their system and go on the internet and what I would need. And I wrote it all down, and I'm like, you know what? This is going to kill the bulletin boards. So all of a sudden, my amount of people hitting my bulletin board dropped, and I went through the names, and they were the kids from the college. And what was happening is they were using the World Wide Web, and I understood what the World Wide Web was, and I could get on through the college. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. And at that time too, PCBoard, the company, they come up with this project. It was named after when they would go to find Spock again. It was a name of Star Trek. Star Trek, am I right? They renamed the software package, and it was going to hook to the internet. And they were already starting not to support us. So I said, that's it. I said, it was too expensive running that package. So I shut my bulletin board down. And a few people made a lot of nasty comments. And then within 6 months, they had shut theirs down. Everybody went to the World Wide Web. But there was a period of time that your email or mail would go across the country by different systems calling each other and moving the packets along. It was the same as the internet. It's just that all your mail was the next morning. So I had Robocom, and you could set up Robocom to call a bunch of bulletin boards, go into the mail door, pull your mail packet down, and then go to the next bulletin board. So it would dial out to 6 different bulletin boards, pull mail packets, come back, open them up. So when you come back from getting your breakfast, they would be sitting there open, and you could answer all your emails and follow all your groups. And then when you were done, you told Robomail to go back out, and it would then upload to the correct bulletin boards all your replies. It was the same as the internet, okay? It was just done differently. But boy, did people drop us like a bag of dirt. As soon as the internet was bigger, had more porn on it, they dumped us. And then the guys that were making fun of me for quitting so soon, they quit. They made it a few more months. And then some guys took donations. I never took donations. A couple people sent me some money, and I won't go into that story because they actually owed me more money. I think that's it. All right, that's it.